The Robert Plank Show, Episode 2, How to Sell Anything Online Using the Magic of Copywriting. What's up? It's your very good friend Robert Plank. We're going to talk today about how to use your words to sell, how to sit down and create a very simple, a very short web page, video, webinar, that kind of thing, and get money from it. Figure out how to present something in a way that gets people excited, that promises them a result, shows them some amazing results of your own, gets them salivating at the mouth to hand over their money to you, to buy into your product, your course, your report, get your video training, get your print book, comment on your blog post. It all becomes way easier when you apply a system that anyone can use. I don't know if you've heard in the past people saying that they have this really confusing and complicated and artsy-fartsy writing process. Well, we're going to throw all that out the window today, and I'm going to share with you my special system for getting people to pay you money from your writing without you having to spend too much effort or time at all writing, and without you having to write very much either. So, copywriting, sales letters, fun stuff, we'll get to that today. How to sell anything online using the magic of copywriting. Now, I hope you're as excited and pumped up for this as me. Today's podcast is sponsored by speedcopy.com. That's speedcopy.com. Now, this is a training course that's going to show you everything you need today, give you the tools, templates, training systems, everything to create your very own selling sales letter that makes money on the internet 24 hours a day. You can get in starting at just $99, and there's a free website critique from me right in the membership site, speedcopy.com. We'll talk to you in a minute. Alright, so we're back talking about copywriting. Now, I have a couple questions for you. Number one, are you willing to do anything and everything that it takes in order to have the best life possible for you and the best life possible for everyone around you? Well, I hope so. Now, my other question is, are you putting your best foot forward? What I mean by that is, let's say that, I'm going to assume that you have been to a job interview before in the past, right? And you had to give them a piece of paper called a resume. And this is pretty much like a standardized kind of thing where you list what you know, what you do, qualifications, experience, education, all that good stuff. But you don't make it boring, do you? You try to make it, and you try to present yourself as the best version of yourself possible, right? And you'll list like your previous employers, and you'll say, well, here are the things I've done in the past, and you kind of dress up your job qualifications, don't you? Right? Like you didn't work at Subway, you were a sandwich engineer. You weren't just a computer programmer at this other job, you were a systems analyst, something like that. So in that same line of thinking, many of us, when we create websites, web pages on the internet, we really don't make it as exciting as it possibly could be. Now, how do you make things fun and exciting? Well, I'll tell you right now is think about what results are you telling people? And let me just think of a couple of, let me just write down a couple of courses that we might have for sale. Like, for example, let me list out, we have a course on webinars. Let me see, we have a course on how to write articles. And just so that I'm not limited to just my little area, let's say that you might have some kind of a course on real estate flipping and another course on like some kind of self-help thing. So let's say give us a bunch of different scenarios, okay? So I've listed on my piece of paper webinars, articles, real estate, self-help. So these are all things you might have for sale online. And so if we were really not even trying, and I was telling you, well, I have this course that shows you how to run webinars, the technical stuff, the confidence stuff, how to be a presenter, all that fun stuff, how to create a product or pitch a course live on the internet. How would I present that? Well, if you weren't really thinking that much about it, you would say, well, I'm going to show you, all the technical details. I'm going to share with you the best practices on how to talk to 1,000 people. Okay, let me just write that down. Okay, so webinars, how to talk to 1,000 people. And half the battle when it comes to being a good marketer online and copywriting is to just think, what holes can I poke in that marketing there? So I talk about webinars. I say you can talk to 1,000 people on the internet. If you have a book that you just published, you want some copies, talk to 1,000 people, get some sales. If you have a product you just published, like an ebook or a video course, talk to 1,000 people. Sounds great, except the hole we can poke in that is that, well, now it's scary. Now you've turned it into public speaking. And you tell me 1,000 people, and I'm telling you 1,000 people is terrifying. So what's a better way? A better way is you run a webinar. Now what happens? What is the result of running that webinar? And off the top of my head, instant sales. Off the top of my head is that you can sit at your computer. It's less work than writing. You don't have to write anything. You get on a webinar, you hit the button, you start talking, you present some stuff. You can refine your sales pitch if you do at some point want to be a speaker, because we might realize that we're going to target people who want to be speakers, people who are coaches, who are authors. And we said, well, in the past you've had to go around and present yourself on radio shows, speak on different stages, but now you can do this thing called a webinar, stay at home, and just run these from home. And if you want to connect with someone new, instead of having to go to their event, instead of having to call them on the phone, just have them promote a link to their subscribers, present on your webinar, and now it's even better than a radio interview or a Skype interview or even a recorded audio, because it's live, because people can see your screen, and you can make it as simple or as complex as you want. You can poll the audience. You can follow up with them afterwards. You can have someone else answering the chat box. So if you want to be just the speaker, if you just want to present your thing, you could ignore that chat box and have an assistant respond for you. So webinars, instant sales. If you can pick up the phone, you can make money. Now, articles. Let's think about that. This thing called an article, that means that you can write a 400 word, so about 2/3 of a page lesson. And you can submit an article to the various sites, and this gives you link backs to your site. So we're thinking about articles. And so, I don't know, if you weren't thinking, once again, you might write down and you might say, well, articles means you can make money as a writer, right? Now, poke holes now. What's the problem with that? If I say make money as a writer, what comes to your mind is, well, you can be a ghostwriter and spend a year writing someone else's book that they get credit for. You get paid maybe $5,000 for a year of work. Writing makes people think of being up late at night, typing on the computer, editing sentences, checking spelling, checking grammar. Terrible. So, articles. How do we make articles sexy? How do we make articles fun? Well, the way to make things fun, and let me just kind of make a little, I'm making this up as I go along, is to give people like big results, or to save people time, or maybe make things simple, I guess, if I had to choose a third one. But the point of copywriting is to give people something new, right? Give people something newsworthy. So anytime that we can kind of, I guess, break the mold, or we can have a system where, in this particular niche in the past, people were used to this downside of it. So webinars, downside is public speaking. Articles, downside is work, writing, time. So if we can take something like writing articles and reduce the work, the aggravation, the time, now we're talking. So low-hanging fruit, easy answer is make an article in X number of minutes. And actually, I can show anyone how to make an article in less than 3 minutes, and that's if they take a while on it. I can show people how to make 100 articles in 6 hours. And I mean, do you want to know what it is? Well, there's a specific system. There's a specific set of steps to follow. Every article that I write is written in the same way. My titles are written in the same way. The body, the number of sentences, paragraphs, the words I use, it's all systematic. It's all done in a way where I've written enough, I've looked at enough articles to notice a pattern. So the product is selling my pattern, my step-by-step system, my workflow. You just follow the steps. You don't have to think, because thinking is what normally gets in the way of your writing. And so if I can show you how to take something that used to take you an hour, which is an article, do it in 3 minutes, well, now what's that worth to you? And sometimes we can't really remove a problem. We have to do what a really smart guy named Joe Sugarman does and acknowledge the shortcomings, but then explain them away. An article. Yeah, you have to do some kind of writing, and you can't really get around the choice that either you have to write an article or someone else does. And if someone else writes it, well, then it's obviously not going to be as good as if you made it. You will have to pay them money, but let's maybe reduce that as much as possible. And so we have a product called makeaproduct.com. Funny how it's a product. I'll make a product anyway. It's a membership site, and it shares our system of speaking out articles along with another system of getting it transcribed. So normally what many people will do, I guess let's just think about, and if we were trying to think of a sales letter, because I am leading to a point here, but I'm explaining to you when I first approach how I'm going to sell something. I don't start thinking about, well, what's the first sentence? What's the headline? I start thinking about, well, what are we really trying to say? What kind of offer are we presenting? And based on that offer, or based on the niche or that problem, when someone's coming to us, if someone's coming to us trying to figure out if they know they want articles made, then what's in their mind? What's their current problem? And what kind of assumptions they're already making? Like with articles, they're already assuming that there's some work involved. But if we can show them how to do it faster, maybe they won't mind the work. So let's try to explain away the difficulties with articles. And then we just list a couple. So articles, we've got writer's block, we've got time, we've got energy, and we've got results. So maybe we'll make a sales letter where if all we do is we just think about what are these objections, and we just take care of them, get people past them, through them, or just explain them away so they don't matter, then we've pretty much done all the selling we need, and then all that's left is just explain what's in our offer, what's in our package. Okay? People come to us because they have this problem where writing articles takes too long, it's too hard, and they're not consistent. Maybe I'll even write that. Consistent. So, I mean, whenever I'm writing an article, I'm just thinking, what are the maybe top 4 objections, and then what's the most appropriate order in which to answer them? Because if we're really, I don't want to say really clever, but if we're careful, then we can actually answer these 4 objections and answer them in a way that explains the problem at the same time, or explains the problem and explains the solution. So here's what I mean. Okay, so we have a product about writing an article, but we can't assume that everyone in the world knows exactly what we're talking about now, can we? Now, we can assume a little bit. I mean, we can assume people know, we have a site about writing, but maybe they didn't know that just from creating one article, you can potentially get 1,000 clicks, 1,000 subscribers. Maybe they don't know that if you had a blog and you posted to it once per day, then that's a brand new web page that can be listed on Google, tweeted out, liked, favorited, shared, syndicated to other sites. And so that's one objection, right? One objection might be, well, it's not really worth my time to create an article. And the answer to that, is look at all the different ways that you can use one article to build traffic. And on top of that, now you're using that article as a tool, a credibility tool actually, to now become a recognized author. So that could be objection number 1, is the results, right? So the results, and maybe show a couple screenshots of your best article. Because if you publish 100 articles, then the top 5 of those are going to be really well performing. Now, I know from experience the problem is you don't know which 5 until you publish them, but that's also something where, well, you can differentiate yourself. That's at least what I do. Is I know many people who can only write 5 articles in a year. And they worry about all this social media, this and Panda that, and PageRank, this other stuff. And they just have this confusing system that no one understands, including them. And it gets back to we talked in the previous episodes about having a business versus having a hobby. Just dabbling, just writing an article here and there just for fun, that's a hobby. But being able to do it in 3 minutes, publishing an article a day every month, now that's consistent traffic, consistent lead generation. You're consistently putting your brand out there. So if I can show you how to make an article in 3 minutes, do it 30 times a month, now you'll have 90 articles. Let's just say you did one a day. So from 3, here we go. It's coming together. 3 minutes a day. Just give me 3 minutes a day, and I'll give you 90 articles, 900 backlinks, 1,800 subscribers, and you can repeat it as much as you want. See, now we're getting into something cool. And one thing I kind of want to mention, which we'll get back to, but I want you to be aware of it, is this idea of swipe file copywriting, of writing from a template. Because writing isn't fun. But this whole thing we're doing where we're thinking about our strategy, assembling pieces, moving the blocks around, so it's like this really well-crafted argument, now that's kind of fun. But what helps us are these different templates. And so I just kind of mentioned one. It's this if-then kind of thing. So if you can make a statement, and what we're going to talk about in, I guess, a few minutes, are headlines, right? Because headlines are so much fun. And in fact, a buddy of mine who's a copywriter, Steven Schwartzman, used to have a service called Mr. Headline. And for, I want to say it was like $97. For $97, he'd write your headline. Now, how cool of a job is that? I mean, that's some Mad Men, so that's like some Don Draper stuff, right? He get paid $100 and just kind of fart around for about an hour and just kind of think about all this crazy stuff. And he'd give you, I think he'd give you like a few headlines, but I mean, that's barely writing. We'd write like 50 words for $100, $2 a word. I'll take that all freaking day long. And so just to give you an idea of Mr. Headline, I'm going to pull up. I mentioned this in the last call, sales page tactics. Okay. And whoops, I think he wrote for volume 2, Sales Page Tactics volume 2. And the headline he wrote for me was, if you're not using these advanced sales page tactics, you might as well throw $10 in the trash every time someone visits your webpage. I'll say it again. If you're not using these advanced sales page tactics, you might as well throw $10 in the trash every time someone visits your sales page. So this is called an if-then statement. In programming, we use it a lot. So funny how my knowledge in programming applies to other areas. And funny how, I'm a computer programmer, but why copywriting is so much fun, because we're not trying to be like literary snobs, right? We're not trying to be Jack London or anything. We're just trying to put out some words that sell. And what's so funny about copywriting is that you can look at someone else's webpage, and if you look at it in the right way, you can say, well, what is it about that statement that got me to keep reading or got me to buy? And I'm going to not copy it, but maybe model it. And I think that's a good way just to kind of explain this whole entire call, is this thing called modeling, right? So think about it. If you visited Facebook's front page today, and you didn't know if someone like covered up the logo, you'd still know it was Facebook's website, wouldn't you? If you went to Amazon.com's website and someone covered up Amazon.com, if you went to eBay, Craigslist, you'd know where you were. And if not, you'd say, oh, this is the Craigslist knockoff. This is the Amazon knockoff. So certain things look a certain way, right? If you went to an internet marketer's website and it was a piece of paper, you'd say this is an internet marketing website. If you went to a WordPress site with the web page is like a full width kind of design, and there's maybe multiple columns, videos, different pictures, say it's probably a WordPress kind of course or a site or something selling software or a plugin. But different things look a certain way. And in the same way when we're talking about writing, certain things are written in a certain way. And people have tried all kinds of different variations, and if you just kind of follow what works, you're 80% of the way there. Okay? So if you have a white background and a headline that's red with quotes around it, then now you're almost there, right? All you have to do is just put some words there. So this whole thing about modeling, it's like, well, why reinvent the wheel when we have something that works? So if-then statement, super great, super strong headline if you have the right one. Because if you can convince something that something is easy, then you can then promise a result. But because you're kind of mixing these around, it's not very obvious to the average person. Okay? So we say, if you're not using these advanced sales page tactics, you might as well throw $10 in the trash every time someone visits your sales page. We could have said, these tools will give you more money. But it's more dramatic to say, in this case, that if you don't have these things, you're losing money. But another way we can use the if-then statement is, if you can do this, then you can do that. A few minutes ago I said, if you can talk on the phone, you can present on a webinar. Okay, so we can pick something that's really easy, that anyone can kind of agree that they can do, that they've probably done today already, and then we'll promise them this big result. So kind of funny how that works. Another easy headline formula is ask a question. And the easiest kind of question to ask is let's just give you a what if question and a who else wants to. Because, I mean, these are the headlines that you see everywhere, but there's a reason why the cliches work, right? So, question. What if I could show you a way to sit down at your computer for just 3 minutes and create an article that gets spread around 100 different places on the internet? Now that's pretty cool, right? And we're not necessarily promising $1 million. My business partner, Lance Tamashiro, love to give that guy shout-outs, props. His very first course said something like, if you have 14 minutes, then I will show you how to get 134 leads into your email marketing system. Now that also brought in is the time component, right? So he said, I'm going to give you the 134 leads, but it only takes 14 minutes. So it's kind of going counter to at the time this thing called list building was a really huge niche to get into, right? There were a lot of really hypey sales that are saying, well, all you have to do is push one button and you'll have 20,000 subscribers falling over themselves to throw your wallets or throw their wallets at you, that kind of thing, right? People would promise 1 million subscribers. There'd be courses on how to get 100,000 subscribers from scratch in 7 days. Crazy stuff. And so he didn't know how to show that. He didn't know how to get 100,000 subscribers in 7 days. Even the guys selling the courses didn't know that, but they were just they were going a little bit too far, I think. So he went the opposite way. Well, not really the opposite way, right? He didn't really say that, oh, list building sucks, it's a bunch of hard work. No, he said you get a small result, but notice he also said a small amount of time. So he said 134 leads in 14 minutes. But my immediate thought there was, yeah, but I could just put in another 14 minutes over and over again and get thousands of subscribers, get what I want anyway. So we don't want to get too clever, but if we can just kind of look at, okay, well, when I saw this person's headline, I don't want to just grab it and change out one word, but maybe I'll grab it and figure out what they were trying to accomplish, and then use it in this other way. So that was if-then, there was the what if. So maybe, if he was writing some headlines, he can say, what if I could hand deliver 134 subscribers to you? So another thing I want to mention, since we're just throwing things out there, is it's not required, but if you can show people things or make them visualize it or use action words, all the better. The funny thing about copywriting, especially for sales letters for the internet, is the more basic you can make your wordage, the better. And if you can say things instead of saying like, I want you to get this number of subscribers, can I give this to you? Can I hand this to you? Have you ever been so frustrated trying to build a list that you just throw up your hands in frustration, you shake your head, and you just can't get it, and you're tired? See what I mean? You're telling, you don't want to get too into the storytelling, but I mean, give people something to imagine. And many times, I mean, I'll even be grammatically incorrect sometimes. I'll even start off a sentence in the present tense and then end it in the past tense. Things like that. So I might say something like, here's where you are right now. You want to have your own freedom, your own business, and you know that you need a website. And wouldn't it be great if I gave you a website right now, and now you have it all built up and ready to go and making money? See what I did there? That's grammatically incorrect if you want to be an English snob, but we want to make money instead. So it's funny how copywriting, short sentences, 4th grade reading level, just get straight to the point, active sentences, short words, powerful words. These are all things that will really help you. We'll be talking about headlines in a minute, or I guess we kind of have. You can have an if-then statement, ask a question like, what if I do this? Who else wants to blank? When we run split tests, which means that we'll see how one web page converts, how one web page gets sales and opt-ins versus another one. Every time we try who else wants to and promise a big result, it usually wins. So why is that? Well, because when you say who else wants to, just that phrasing, it kind of forces you to really punch up the benefits. And once again, we're not saying 1 million subscribers, but we really kind of want to list, who else wants to this. So who else wants to does a couple of things. First of all, who else means that I've already shown someone else how to do this, right? Because it's kind of like if you say who else wants ice cream. Well, it sounds like I've already given someone ice cream, someone else gets ice cream. So who else wants to build a subscriber list? Or who else wants to add 134 new email subscribers from just 14 minutes of punching a button or 14 minutes of effort? I don't like to use the word work. I'll explain in a little bit. But when we say who else wants to, we have to put in results. And there's an implied social proof. Anytime you can imply something and make people come to their own conclusions, then it becomes much more reinforced, I guess I should say. So you imply something, and if they don't get it, then that's weaker. But if you can just kind of suggest something, and just by reading who else wants to, now they understand I'm not the first one. Now that makes sense. So who else wants to build a list of 134 subscribers in 14 minutes? Now, another kind of enhancer to this. This isn't the whole headline on its own, but if you can list 3 things, or sometimes I'll do 3 results or 3 problems and 3 solutions. So here's what I mean. Who else wants to build an email subscriber list? All right, that's fine. Who else wants to build an email subscriber list, or who else wants to add 187 leads? That's fine also. But if you had to list 3 things, and maybe even list, and it could either be like one thing leads to the next. It could be who's coming to our web page and what do they want. Because some people come to our web page and they know they want email subscribers. Some people don't know that. Some people, they just want to get to the point, and they just say, well, email subscribers are great, but what I really want are some sales. What I really want are some clicks. So there's our 3. Subscribers, clicks, and sales. So if we can say, who else wants 187 new subscribers, as many clicks on your web page as you want, and double your sales by next week? ? And I mean, it's off the top of my head, but that's pretty cool how just by plugging in a formula, even something that you just thought of off the top of your head, is kind of cool. Okay? So I think right now it is time to get to our productivity tip of the day. All right? And this is brought to you by Time Management on Crack.com. Today's productivity tip of the day is to perform 4 daily tasks. We mentioned this at the end of the last episode, where I said I don't believe in a to-do list. Because what's a to-do list? A to-do list is a list of 100 different things that you want to get to someday, and you don't really want to do them, and it just goes on and on and on. There's so many different things, and some of them are just some huge projects you'll never be able to tackle. Right? I want to clean out the garage. I want to make $1 million. I want to publish 10 different books in 10 different niches. I want to have a $1,000 day. I want to record 10 audios. And you know what happens? Well, you look through and you find the 10 easiest tasks in that 100, and you do them, and they're not really that important. And then when you do that, you come up with 20 more things to do. So the to-do list never ends, and it's more like a to-don't list, right? You don't really end up doing everything on a to-do list. What's the answer? To just have a list of 4 tasks for today. What works for me are 3 tasks that take 45 minutes. 1 task that takes about 10 minutes. Because we didn't really put in 8 hours, 10 hours a day. We end up putting in about 3, right? If that. And we probably aren't even focused during that time. So, if today you can send a quick email to your subscribers, that's 1. If you can put together a PowerPoint presentation for your next webinar, that's a normal size task. If you can put together sales letters, another one. Maybe assemble a blog post. Those are your 4 tasks for today. And you know what? It's going to take a little bit of calibration on your part to figure out what takes you 45 minutes. Because we don't know many times, because we don't have focus, right? Because we have Facebook open. You might have heard the Facebook ding earlier. I forgot to close the window to record this call for you. We have our email open. We let our phone go off. I think my phone might have vibrated too before I remembered to shut that off. So we get distracted by so many different things. And studies have shown actually that multitasking is worse than smoking marijuana as far as your focus goes. So you need to have some focus time so you can get back to what's important to your family, to your life, to your free time, to whatever adventure you're embarking on today and this week and this month. So just do 4 daily tasks, not 20. Because if you do 20, you'll get tired, burned out, and you'll take the rest of the week off. Instead, just do 4 things every single day. On weekends, I'll do 4 tasks that are about 5 minutes each, and then be done. So 4 daily tasks, we might talk about that in a future call, but for now, 4 daily tasks. That was our productivity tip of the day, sponsored by Time Management on Crack. Back at it. Headlines. We talked about webinars, articles. How about real estate? Real estate's really exciting because with real estate, I know people who can put in 6 hours of work, and most of that's on the contracts, and walk away with $12,000 in commission. So with real estate, and I don't know that much about real estate, so we won't go into as much details with webinars and articles, but going into real estate, we might be thinking, well, what are people thinking about real estate? That, well, the bubbles burst, right? And the bubble bursts every 10 years. And when things like real estate, when that's at the peak, any idiot can make money from real estate sitting at a desk. But when things are dipping, maybe you have to use someone else's strategy. And if you can, and I think with something like real estate, you have to have something unique and different, have your own little system, like maybe it's house flipping or maybe it's some, some technical thing, and show testimonial and show current testimonials, because there's no point in having testimonials about real estate if they're from 3 years ago before the bubble burst. So it's always the same process. We go into real estate with our real estate product, and we're thinking, what are the 4 assumptions people are making about real estate or about our particular method, our particular course of making money through real estate? And then we develop those into specific objections. So people might have a vague idea, but maybe they'll think about real estate that it doesn't work whatsoever. You end up risking a bunch of money as far as paying the taxes, or being stuck with a house you can't sell, or being stuck with the renters from hell, things like that. So you go into thinking about what are the objections, and then we turn that into, well, now what are we going to promise? And that really leads me to, what's your offer really? What are you offering someone that it doesn't have to be, 50 hours of videos. It doesn't have to be 50 DVDs. But what's your just really impressive package? And I'll list a couple out for you. We have a course called Membership Cube. Teaches you how to set up a membership site from start to finish, how to get paying members, how to drip content, how to create a community, how to get people to participate. So Membership Cube, well, there's all that training, and maybe we in our sales letter for that we list out the various modules, all that good stuff. So there's a training part of it. Then there's the membership software. So what makes us really unique is that usually when you're trying to get a membership site made, you can buy the software itself. Usually the training sucks. Or you can buy someone else's training, but then you have to go out and buy the software. But what we've done is we found the best membership plugin on the market, and we have bought it for you. So it's just like a one-shot deal, no hidden fees, you just get that. So there's the training, there's the membership software. We have various plugins that we've built on top of this to improve it. And I guess I would say that's our entire offer. And, I could go into detail about what the different plugins do and get technical about that, why the software itself, the membership software is the best, and, why our training is the best. But that is our offer. And what we can do, in the same way where if you're smart about sending out resumes back when you were working a job, or if you're still working a job, you kind of tailor your resume towards the person that you're applying for, right? So, for example, I had a friend in college, and when he would apply to like a databases position, he would emphasize his database experience and his training and his schooling and all that stuff. When he was applying to like a Microsoft or an Oracle kind of job, where like they hired him for just his knowledge on how to use Microsoft SQL Server or Microsoft Windows Server or something, he would emphasize that part of his education. So in the same way, we noticed who's coming to our site and what do they really want. Just like how when I'm teaching computer programming, I'm not selling to the nerds, I'm selling to the marketers. And that's just who I decided to target. So what we ended up with Membership Cube is basically you can get your membership site online and making money tonight, which I think is different than everyone else, because everyone else, for some reason, tries to make it too complicated. And that doesn't apply to every single niche, but just in that particular one. When I see my competitors, even though I don't really call them competitors, but when I see people in the same niche as mine, I see what they do and I poke holes in what they've done, and I just do a better job of marketing to them. And I say, well, here's what the objections are, and here's what my offer is. And my offer is that, well, I know your objections are that setting up a membership site is very technical, it's very hard work, and it takes you months and months. And I'm saying get it set up tonight because everything's all in one place. The software, the training, we make it super simple for you, and now it's all set up online. And from there, you can take your baby steps and make it bigger and better, but we've kind of prioritized the different tasks you have to do so that first night you do the bare bones. You do the bare minimum to be able to take payments and make money today. Worry about the fancy stuff later on because you can still use it, but it comes later. So that's kind of how we take objections, then show our offer, and then at that point, your sales letter kind of writes itself. And so the formula we use for this is AIDA. So that's attention, interest, desire, action. And I mean, this is going to be the most important formula, if you don't know it, for everything. Because this applies to writing reports, this applies to writing blog posts, it applies to writing sales letters, videos, webinars, AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action. Here's what it means. Attention means that we have this thing called a headline, right? We get someone's attention. Because if we just started talking, telling a story, we haven't really earned the right yet, have we? I always forget this number. But the average person clicks off of a web page in a matter of seconds. It's like under 5 seconds. And that's fine. That's just the universe we live in. and those are the rules we have to follow. So if someone on average clicks off in 3 seconds, let's say, we need to come up with a way to keep them on for 30 more seconds. So we have this attention-getting headline, and usually it promises something. And we have to know our audience to know how crazy we want to make it, how crazy of a claim, or how counter to the normal claims we want to make this. And so, like in Lance's case, I think that what he was going for was that everyone had already heard the usual stuff. So his prospects were very educated already. So they'd already heard the hype, let's just say, or the overhype, or maybe they've taken some of those courses, and he doesn't want to badmouth those other courses. But he wants to say, well, hey, look at me, I'm different. Hey, look at me, I'm not saying everything sucks, but I'm a little bit more down to earth, maybe a little bit more faster than those other guys. So, attention, we have a cool headline that usually promises some kind of crazy result, which might be big results, might be less work, less time. Those are the big ones. So headline gets people to read for 30 more seconds. So now we've gone from 3 seconds to 30 seconds, but is that enough time for someone to read the whole web page, sales letter, buy from us? Heck no. So we've bought ourselves 30 seconds. How do we buy ourselves, say, like 3 minutes? Well, that's where the interest comes in. We said attention, interest, desire, action. Interest is I'm going to write problem/story. So, a headline is like half a sentence, right? What if I were to show you how to add 134 leads to your email list in 14 minutes? Well, we've already kind of identified with the person. They already know what an email subscriber list is, probably. And they already know that 134 leads is something worth paying attention to. It's not a lot, but it's a noticeable amount. So that's good. But we need more information, right? And that's where the interest comes in. And if we were to just come out and say, buy my stuff, it's not going to work. I don't have enough information. If we were just going to say, here's what's in my course, well, that's get on the right track, but you kind of jumped ahead, haven't you? When you get to a page that says, here, buy my stuff, but I don't know. You're not there yet. You need to kind of buy me dinner first, and that's where we relate to the prospect. We share what their problem is, and we assure them that we understand their problem. So for me, interest is where all those objections kind of come into play. So you take those top 4 objections and arrange them in kind of the right sequence, and that's where we can relate to their problem. So, list building. Let's think about that. Building an email subscriber list. What are the issues there? Well, the issues are similar to membership sites. There's the technical stuff, like you don't know how to get it set up. There's the traffic. So they don't really know how to get people to their opt-in page. There's like the monetizing, right? Once they're on the list, they don't really know how to make money from that. And actually, if I were to improve Lance's headline at all about 134 leads, I'd also relate about how much money that made. Except I have to try it. I might try it and hate it, because if he made $500 in 14 minutes, that's actually kind of cool. So maybe if he made 194 leads, and if he even made that money over time, he just did the work in 14 minutes. So even if, we can always, it's kind of a gray area, but because he put in 14 minutes of work, even though that $500 took a year to play out from those specific subscribers, he didn't have to do anything else. It just kind of played out on its own. So there's technology, there's getting people to it, monetizing it, and maybe even like getting the web page to convert. Because if you get people to come to your opt-in page and no one subscribes, then you're wasting your money. So there we go. Technology, traffic, conversion, monetization. So what I would do is, we don't really have that much time left on today's call, but I would state each of those objections in the form of a question, and then just answer those questions. And it's up to you to figure out what's the best order to list those in, and I would actually say it would be technology, traffic, conversion, and monetization. So we can really, really relate to someone who needs to build a list, because we can say, you know what, I used to be just like you. I wanted to make more money on the internet. I had a website that everyone needed to see. The problem was no one was there to see it. What I decided to do was build a list. I heard that was a great way to get traffic on demand, that I could get 10,000, 100,000 people and send out one message and get everyone to show up. I thought, great. But then I had so many issues. I didn't know what autoresponder service to use. I didn't have a template, didn't know how it was supposed to look. I didn't know how to make it all, how to redirect someone. I didn't know how to make everything work together. So I was frustrated by the technical issues. And after lots of guess and check, I finally had a basic web page online. But I didn't know how to get people to come and see it in the first place. I figured if people showed up that they'd all register, but how do I get people to come to this web page in the first place? So there's the traffic part. Then the conversion. Well, eventually, through several steps, I was able to get 10,000 people to come to this web page over time. The problem is, no one signed up. I didn't know why. I didn't know what to fix. I didn't even know where to go from there. And even once they got on my list, I didn't know how to make money from that until I discovered this system. And it's a system where, and then we go from there, right? So the interest is where we kind of state a problem, and if we can use the person's top 4 objections, that means we relate to them. If we order those 4 objections into a logical step-by-step sequence, so it's usually like the simplest to the most difficult, right? Or like the objections they'd get early on, and then maybe they'd solve that objection and then get another problem. So maybe they don't even know how to set up a web page. Now it's set up. Now no one's seeing it. Now people see it. Now no one's subscribing. Now people are in it, but now it's not making money, right? So we arrange those four objections, and now we make a story. And the story I just told you was pretty much, I was just like you, blah, blah, blah. And you can tell a story like that. You can tell a story where you don't have to always tell a story where you're broke. You don't have to start off broke. You can tell a story where you came across this problem, or one of your coaching students came across a certain problem, or maybe you're just saying, well, I know that you have this thing, you have this thing. But we're just weaving a story that sets up the problem. And you notice how at the end I couldn't help but finish that story, right? And the story ends with what your product is. So we said I'm building a list, and I've building up to this. The answer is ultimate list building system. And what's cool about that is, so that's the desire part, right? The desire, and I'm just going to put solution/product. You get to desire, and now you can't help but explain what the course shows people, what's in the course. And this is where we start out, and one thing that it took me years to figure out is to introduce your product with a bang, right? We start off, attention getting a headline, story, objection, and then we go, boom, here it is. And we have it in giant letters. If you have a logo, if you have a picture of it, boom, there it is. Just like the song says. Say what your product is. And then from there you kind of explain what is it on a big level. Like, so ultimate list building system gives you everything you need to go from nothing to something that gets you 184 leads every 14 minutes, like clockwork. And we're going to give you everything. We're going to give you the templates. We're going to tell you what to say, how to do it, give you some email swipe copy. So in this area, we're explaining on a high level what the whole product is, right? But is that enough? Can we just say all that and say bye now? Well, we could, but it'll help us a little bit more, give us a little bit of a boost if we after that point, break down the different modules. Okay? So in the desire, solution, product phase, introduce the product, explain what's in it on a high level, and then break down the various pieces. And so many times, when I was first selling products on the internet, I noticed so many web pages where you couldn't really tell what it was. And this was even before, I don't know if you've seen videos where someone says, you don't deserve to be on this page. I'm going to give you a solution. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you push a button, and every time you push a button, you get $1,000. And just run it 6 times a day, and you get $6,000 a day. Have you seen these kinds of videos? You have no idea what it is. And usually it's just a piece of crap software that finds domain names, or something like that, right? Or finds affiliate programs. So anyway, back to the point. But even, so many things just don't change on the internet. One thing that hasn't changed is a lot of web pages I can't even tell what they're selling, right? I don't know if it's an ebook, video course, DVDs, membership site, and even then, what's module 3 of this course? And why is module 3 between modules 2 and 4? Like, why is that a logical step-by-step sequence, or are you just throwing a bunch of stuff at me? Because the point of information products is the how-to. Someone's at point A, they can't play the guitar, you want to get them to point B, they can play 10 songs on the guitar. But in order to get from point A to point B, they need to go through certain modules, certain steps. And usually that's 4 steps or 8 steps. So if there's a logical step-by-step sequence, where if someone's learning the guitar, first they need to learn chords, right? Or maybe they need to learn rhythm or something like that. And it makes sense for one to come before the other, then you'll be able to justify why your course has all the pieces that it does. Not only that, but as someone's reading through it, they keep going because since every module leads into the next, now they have to keep reading because it's like they keep getting pulled through the sales letter. One little tiny technique, which you might have noticed, sometimes I can't help but use it in my speaking style, are these things called bucket brigades. So when in the old-timey past, when a house is on fire, we didn't have fire trucks, didn't have fire hoses, couldn't drop water from a helicopter. We had to go to the lake, go to the river, dip a bucket in the lake, and pass that bucket along down a line until someone could pour the bucket out on the fire. That's called a bucket brigade. So in copy, that means that we want someone to read one sentence and then read to the next sentence, then read to the next sentence, and that's why sometimes we'll start sentences with phrases like, not only that, but, and then keep going. Because that really helps us out. And in addition, people will now read to the end. So we don't want to overdo it, but so much of, and I don't want to sound like a hoity-toity academic here, but so much of copywriting is just getting someone to start at the top and read everything down at the bottom. It sounds simplistic, but think about it. If someone was sucked into your headline, you wouldn't have to worry about your headline selling the whole course. Just worry about your someone you put up a headline, and then below that put a subheadline. And the only job of that headline is to get someone to read the headline below it. The only job of that headline is to get someone to read the paragraph below that. The only job of that is to get someone to read the paragraph below that. If someone invests an hour reading your webpage, and they go from top to bottom, now they understand everything. They understand that this problem of not being able to play the guitar, of not having a autopilot mailing list, why it's so important. They get to your product. They understand exactly what's in your product. They understand how much stuff is in there, and when we list every component of our product, I love putting a dollar value next to each thing. Because if I have a 1-hour video showing you how to get traffic to your website, what's that worth? Well, let's say it's worth $500, because it would have cost you $500 in guess and check if you were trying bad traffic methods. It would have cost you $500 using someone else's system. So that is definitely worth $500. And if we can say, well, the web page template is worth $100, the module on making money from your list is worth $300, and you can total it up to be worth $2,000 and say, but it's not $2,000. Today, you pay $1,995. Well, then now it's like a no-brainer, because not only did you get my attention, that's the attention part, the headline. You identified with my problem, that's the interest, problem, story. You explained everything in your product, desire, solution, the product. Now I have everything I need. All that's left is the action, which we call in copywriting call to action. We say, here's the price, here's the guarantee, here's the button. Go ahead, do it right now, click the button, and your membership will be activated instantly in the next 5 minutes. And you'll be able to log in and watch these videos right away. And there we go. That is a web page. And you might be thinking, oh, well, I heard somewhere that long copy is dead. Well, you know what? It depends on who you're selling to. And I'm kind of cramming the thought of the day right near the end of this call. And let's just get right to it. The thought of the day is, who are you selling to? And I guess it's appropriate to have it near the end. Who are you selling to? Because if you're selling to someone who needs to have all the information, if you're in a niche like internet marketing where you might have this big long course, well then you need long form copy. If you're selling a piece of software and you can just demonstrate it in 3 minutes, 5 minutes, then a video is more appropriate, but you're still going to use a headline. You're still going to relate to their problem. You're still going to explain the different parts of your software or your course. You're still going to tell them at the end to buy. So like a video, a sales video, is more compressed than a 20-page long sales letter, but it's the same logic. We're constructing it the same way, making the same arguments. And what I find so funny is the WordPress crowd. People who sell WordPress plugins, WordPress themes. They think they just want like the shortest web page possible. They'll make multiple columns. They'll cram stuff on 3 or 4 columns. All these funny icons. But when I see something that needs a lot of explaining, like a WordPress course or a WordPress membership site with lots of plugins and themes, they have to make it long form copy. And what's really funny too is because it's, for example, WordPress, they're really heavy on clean, big, giant graphics. It's still a sales letter, but it's like a 2-column sales letter, or it's a sales letter with maybe less text than normal, but it's a long scrolling sales letter. So this is what sells. This is what sells in video, in audio, in person, to get someone to take any kind of action. When we have an opt-in page, we're trying to get someone to enter an email address. It's very short. Blog post, it's a little bit different, but it's the same steps. AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action. Give them a headline, introduce your problem with a story, have your product with a solution, and then have that call to action. Tell them to buy right now. So, Robert Plank, and we talked today about how to sell anything online using the magic of copyright. Now, it's okay to be a salesperson. You want to put your best foot forward, and you want to make some money, and I think what's really helpful is that instead of hiring a copywriter, I think that you're the best person to explain why your training, why your software, why your product, why your solution is the best that it is, and then use some of these techniques I've shown you, like the bucket brigade, the headline templates like if-then, the formula like AIDA, identifying objections, focusing on results, all that kind of stuff. I think that those are all tools that you should have in your arsenal. And you know what I tell many other people is, come up with it yourself. Maybe don't write the whole thing yourself, but come up with like the first draft. Just like how my very first sales letter was a headline and 10 bullet points. Improve it using the copywriting tools we've shared today, and then either get a copywriter to finalize it or get them to critique it even better. And like I said, my name is Robert Plank, and I have a course called speedcopy.com. And it's one thing, I shared as much as I could in this 1 hour, but I want to show you how I make sales letters from scratch in under an hour, where many people take weeks. And I think right now we have over 30 website critiques. So people will come to me in various niches and they'll say, this isn't converting. or what should I add to this to make sure it converts, and I open up their webpage and sometimes make notes and even change their webpage on the fly, and you're going to want to see what that's all about in speedcopy.com, because there's nothing like it, and you don't need to spend hours or weeks or months coming up with one web page. You can say it in simple language, you can say it right the first time, you can say it in your own words, and that will get you 80% of the way there. And for the remainder, we'll just know what sells, model what works, and that's pretty much all that you have to do. My name is Robert Plank from speedcopy.com. If you have any feedback, questions, you want to be on my show, whatever you want, send me an email at roberts@robertplank.com. If you want to have me on your show, you want to have me for an interview, contact me. Go ahead, do it right now. But as far as this show goes, go to speedcopy.com, claim your free critique as part of that course. And I look forward to seeing what kind of web page you make. Make sure to 5-star rate this on iTunes, leave a review, subscribe to this podcast. Next episode is going to be how to create an information product within 48 hours or less and sell 1,000 copies. I'm Robert Plank from speedcopy.com. I'll talk to you very soon.